Afternoon. Will, are you on?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, we're going to start off with you, sir.
All right, thank you. Mike?
Hey, LeBron, Mike Trudell back in LA. Just wondering what stood out the most to you when you went through the film last night?
Our turnovers. Our turnovers really killed us. We understand that we can't turn the ball over versus this team. And we also had some breakdowns defensively throughout the course of the game that we're not accustomed to having. So those will be cleaned up in Game 4.
Tanya?
LeBron, you guys have responded pretty well after losses in the playoffs so far. I'm wondering if there's a common theme between those different times, and are you seeing that same kind of mentality now?
We're able to, to take a loss and understand why we lost, understand things that we should have done better, and things that we can apply to the next game to be better. And we're right back at that moment once again with the opportunity to be better than we were in the game before. So look forward to the opportunity tomorrow night.
Hey, LeBron, kind of along those lines, specifically with Anthony, when he's had off nights or what have you, he's always responded in a really big way. And he's talked about you always kind of knowing how to approach him after a night he struggled. What's your approach been with him today, and what do you expect from him tomorrow?
I expect him to be 80. And I'm looking forward to getting out on the floor with him once again tomorrow night.
Alicia, you guys can go ahead.
All right, Dave?
You've been in the finals 10 times now. You've been up in series, you've been down in series. What's it like to process the time off in between games coming off a loss?
It's pretty much the same coming off a win for me. So the series is completed. I kind of stay on edge, stay locked in on the job at hand. And obviously no one wants to ever lose. You hate that feeling, especially when you know you didn't play your best. And I definitely wasn't at my best last night from an individual standpoint. So I take that responsibility, and I take that with a lot of passion and understanding of how I can be much better, in the following game. But, throughout the postseason, I stay even keeled. As I've grown in this game and I've grown over the years, I kind of stay even keeled and understanding that, there's always another opportunity to get better. And we have that opportunity today and also tomorrow night in the game.
Kyle?
I have an off-court question. When you think of all you have going on, you're wearing a More Than a Vote shirt right now. In terms of trying to influence change, thinking back 8 years ago when you wore those hoodies as a statement about Trayvon Martin, what are the biggest things you've learned about impacting change off the court? And is there advice you, in this moment now, would have given yourself 8 years ago when you kind of started this journey?
That you can't get caught up in what everybody else think, because everyone's not going to always agree with your movement. Everyone's not going to agree with your words. Everyone's not going to agree with your passion. Everyone's not going to always agree with why you're doing it and things of that nature. But if you're true to it and it hits home and it hits the heart, then it shouldn't matter. And it doesn't, because you have the knowledge, you have the passion, you have the support to be able to shed light on situations that you feel are either unjust or wrong. And there's a thing called common sense, and the difference between right and wrong is something I've always grew up on. My mother always, told me, being able to understand the difference between right and wrong and noticing it and being able to, have that feeling. So, to sit back and think 8 years ago when we sat in Detroit in the ballroom, as a part of the Miami Heat team, and we all decided to put our hoodies on in a reflection and a remembrance of Trayvon Martin and that tragic incident. We knew that it was going to be uncomfortable to a lot of people, but we didn't care because we understood how much it hit home for us and a lot of our guys having sons of their own, and could imagine if our kid was to leave home and not return. So I think that's what it boils down to.
Last three questions here. Gary?
LeBron, in terms of talking to opponents on the floor, are you a guy who just responds to trash talk? Do you initiate it? And as your status has moved up in the league, has it changed? Have different players said different things, or do they not want to talk to you because they don't want to get you going? How does that kind of equation go?
No, I've always been a guy who kind of let his game do the talking. But when guys get to talking, I can do that as well. But I've always tried to let my game do the talking. It's some guys are, like to talk their way through the basketball game. I think it helps them out personally. There's always communication going on the floor. For me personally, as long as I don't get disrespectful, I'm fine with it. But I've never really started up a trash talking dialogue. That's just not me. I believe, the way I play the game is enough trash talking in itself.
Dan?
LeBron, from just like a strategy standpoint, Bam is a type of big who is obviously a really great playmaker, but he doesn't space the floor so much with his shooting. The guys that Miami's played at the position now, Myers and Olynyk, both do. How different does that force you guys to be defensively? You talked probably about watching those defensive breakdowns last night. I imagine spacing had something to do with a couple of them.
I think it all boils down to no matter who's in the lineup for those guys, they're a great team. And it's just that simple. And they're going to put you in positions that may feel uncomfortable, that will be uncomfortable throughout the course of 48 minutes, and we have to be able to adjust. There's things that Myers and Kelly does that Bam doesn't do, but we all can also understand there's things that Bam does that not too many guys in this league can do. So they create different challenges depending on who's out on the floor. But when there's 5 guys on the floor for the Miami Heat, they're going to play how they play. They're going to move the ball. They're going to move with pace. They're going to share the ball. They got guys that can get into the paint. They got guys that can shoot threes. They got guys that command double teams and things of that nature. So it doesn't matter who's out on the floor for them. They're going to be playing at a high level because they're that's just the way they are. And they're extremely well coached from top to bottom.
The last two questions, one here and then one on Zoom. So Tim?
Bron, you've always prided yourself on playing the right way. But you still have those moments like the fourth quarter against Denver in the closeout game where you're like, this is going to end now, and you go to that place. Jimmy parallels you in that regard, in that he doesn't want to have the ball in his hands every possession. He wants to get other guys involved. And then you saw last night what he ends up doing. Are you in that space yet where you think you might have to go that tack to close this thing out and go to that fourth quarter Bron against Denver mode like we've seen so many times from you in the past, or are you not there yet?
I've never predetermined my game plan throughout my whole career. I've never went to a game saying, okay, I need to score 40 tonight. I need to dominate in the scoring facets, things of that nature. I need to make big shots. I've never predetermined my game throughout my whole life. I've never done that. The one thing I've always been prepared. And if you're prepared, then whatever the game, however the course happened, you're able to make adjustments throughout the game. You're able to impact the game because you're prepared and you've put in the work. It's just that simple for me. I think anytime I've ever, thought about, okay, I'm gonna go out and try to do this, then it doesn't happen that way. The game has too many things that can happen throughout the course of the game and throughout the course of a quarter, or possessions here and possessions there, where you could try to plan for it, but audibles happen in the football sense. So the best thing I can tell you is that I'm always prepared, and I know that I've put in the work. So I trust that.
Will, your last question on Zoom, please.
Right. Yeah. Last one from me, Mark Stein.
Hey, LeBron, I was just curious. Early in the pandemic, you mentioned that your body was kind of in shock, that you were rounding towards third base for the playoffs, and then you had to stop. all these months later, how would you say your body has responded to all that?
I'm in great shape. I bounced back extremely well in between games, and I could play right now if we had to play right now at a high level.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, everyone on Zoom. Will, thank you.
Thank you.
Alrighty, Will, whenever you're ready.
All right, thank you. Mike?
Hey, Anthony, Mike Trudell in LA. I wonder, when you watch tape of a game when you don't feel like you played your best, how do you take that? How do you, when you're watching, how do you feel about it emotionally, and how do you think that affects things moving forward?
It sucks just because if you play well and done your job, then you possibly could have won a game. So it always sucks when you lose, especially when you don't play well. And look at tape and just try to figure out ways to be better to get prepared for next game.
Allison, you go ahead.
Start with Kyle Goon.
AD, you mentioned yesterday that there just wasn't communication defensively. When you look at the tape, where did that allow Miami to hurt you guys the most?
They didn't. You can't really tell if someone's communicating on film, but you can tell. If you kind of get what I mean, and you can tell we wasn't. We were off in our coverages. They were, setting screens and slipping to the rim, without no one guarding them. We're over helping. We're having blown coverages, and so there are a lot of space on the floor for guys to drive to the basket with no resistance, no help. Guys were hugged up on their man, so you can tell that we weren't ourselves defensively. We have to be a lot better. We can't allow easy points. I mean, the game is already hard enough. Teams are going to make tough shots, but we can't allow them to get easy looks at the rim when no one's guarding them or not helping our guys. If a small is on Jimmy or a big is on a guard, and knowing that chances are pretty high that they're going to blow by them. We have to protect each other. We have to help each other, and that wasn't the case last night, and a big reason why we lost.
Dan?
Eddie, I'm sure great players have off nights and great games too. And at home, I'm sure shaking off whatever happened is a really important part of moving forward to the next day. How different is that process here in a place where you're surrounded by your coaches and your teammates? There's basketball everywhere you look. Has that changed how you process both the highs and the lows of playing at this level?
Oh, I mean, well, the good thing for me, I'm not a big social media guy, so I have it, but I don't really be on it. I'm very disciplined to, especially after nights like last night. A lot of people can get caught up in the news and the social media and what everybody is saying, but I don't really care about it too much. And I want to see my coaches. I want to see my teammates, because I know they're going to tell me how to get better for next game. Prepare me the right way, so I don't have a repeat of last night. So I want to be able to see these guys and talk to them and figure out the game plan for tomorrow night. So I know it's always beneficial to get away and kind of forget about it. But when you're here, you have to embrace that. You can't, like you said, you can't really run from it. And so I lean on my coaches a lot here and my teammates a lot here to kind of help me through the process.
Will, anybody else on your end?
Yeah, I'll take a few more. Tanya?
Yeah, AD, does having your family in the bubble change that process at all of sort of getting over a game like last night?
For sure. Like you said, you go back home. If this is a regular, scenario, you'll go back home and see your family, and things like that. So it kind of just take your mind away from the game, and having my family here, it definitely helps. But it's still hard to sleep. It's still hard not to think about. And even though it takes the edge off a little bit, you're super eager to just get back on the floor and get ready for the next game. But I think, my family being here definitely helps me tremendously.
All right, last two for you. Brian Mahoney.
Anthony, there was one point in game 2 when you scored on like 3 straight putbacks. I know that's not something that's very normal, but last night they kept you off the boards pretty well. What changed there where you couldn't create those extra possessions and things like that?
I think they did a good job of trying to keep me off the offensive glass. That's a energy and effort thing. And, being in foul trouble, sometimes you go in there and, you can call for offensive foul over the back or, whatever the case may be. And so, I just didn't want to pick up any more stupid fouls. I think I had like 3 stupid fouls last night. That could have been prevented. But I didn't want to go in and create another, foul on myself. And then I have 5 or 4, whatever the case may be, and now I have to sit on the bench again. So just trying to play smart, but at the same time, knowing when to go in and crash and look for those offensive rebound opportunities.
All right, last one, Alan Sliwa.
AD, when you're coming off a loss or like you mentioned a performance yesterday that you obviously want to play better, how much do you start looking forward to the next game, and how much does it help that the turnaround is so quick to get back on the court?
You look forward to it. You want to go out there and play well. You want to go out there and help your team win, and it's a good thing that we're playing every other day. Because, like you said, the turnaround is so quickly. So you're able to go out there and get right back to it. So you watch film, you figure out what you can do better, and you want to go out there and try to make those adjustments and be better than you did last game. So I'm excited that we play tomorrow night to go back out there and help my team try to go up 3-1.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Dave.
yep.
I'm good. Hello, Will. We will start on your end.
That's the way I like it.
All right, thank you. Mike?
Hey, Frank, how are you?
Good, Mike. How you doing?
Doing well, thanks. Frank, you mentioned you wanted to take a look at the tape, of course, before evaluating, and especially that first quarter with the turnovers. Was there anything you could tell that was emblematic throughout the team as to why something like that would occur in that case?
Good defense. Credit to Miami Heat. We were careless in some situations, but I think they took 4 charges throughout the game. They fronted the post, forced us to make difficult post-entry passes. So a lot of it was their defense, them being active with their hands. This is what they're great at, and we didn't handle it well enough.
Hey Frank, I was just wondering how Danny is doing with the. I know he's fine to play, but has he been limited much in whatever you guys have been able to do on court wise over the last few days?
Yeah, he has some tightness in his hip. It's not an injury, but they're trying on a daily basis to make sure they keep it loose. I don't know how much that's having an impact on his play, but he's able to go. So we'll continue to monitor it.
Colin, Dan.
Hi, Frank. I'm curious, throughout this process, kind of a big picture question, how much time and energy have you guys as a staff spent on thinking about sort of the mental well-being of your team? And I know they're veteran guys and there's a lot of trust in that direction, but this is obviously a taxing situation. LeBron, I think, called it one of the hardest things he's ever done. How much time and energy is kind of devoted to that, and what do you sort of make of it?
Yeah, well, obviously, mental health is very important, and I love that the league over the last few years has really grown in the resources provided to our players and our staff, and we've made sure to highlight that here in the bubble. That this is going to be a mentally challenging thing,
We've on several different occasions, we put team psychologists or an NBA psychologist or our team psychologist in front of our team, just to remind them of the resource, encourage them to talk to someone if if they need help, and that we all got to support each other. So we have talked about it a lot and spent a lot of attention, making sure that everybody's doing okay.
All right, Kyle Goon.
AD talked about just a lack of communication on the defensive end. Given the number of vets and defensive-minded guys you have on your team, is that surprising? And what sort of is the difference in your experience between guys who maybe are communicating on a given night and when that talk turns off?
Yeah, we typically communicate as well as any team that I've been on or been with, and I don't think the communication was the biggest factor last night. We certainly had some breakdowns, but we just weren't as sharp as we need to be to win a game in the NBA Finals against a great team. So communication was a part of that.
All right, we'll go back to you, Will.
All right, thank you. I'll take one more. Fernanda?
Yeah. I would like to make a question about your experience in Orlando. What opportunity has this season in the bubble given you to improve as a team?
Well, we've had a lot of time to be with each other and, to get a lot of extra work in. Obviously, there's an environment where once we're done with practice or a film session team meeting, you don't go home to your families or to your personal lives. You spend more time with each other, dinners and, things like that, gatherings that we would have throughout the bubble. But it's been an all-work environment, and when you have that type of situation, your group really has an opportunity to grow together.
All right, I think we're all set. Thanks, Frank.
Okay.